And do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
You just roll with it?
Yeah, I'm going to roll.
All right, let us roll.
All right,
let's do this.
All right. Kansai Paint.
Oh, wait, Kansai Paint, what?
I did a commercial for Kansai Paint.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I met a fellow voice narrator.
Oh, okay, cool.
Versus the other kind of narrator that doesn't use voices. Recently, we got along really great. He's 6'8".
Oh, wow.
He's like James Comey tall. He's like ex-FBI tall. He's a British guy by name of Leslie Bright. And I met him at our recent hello and farewell party at the school that I'm teaching at right now. And I tried to be witty in Japanese, which I guess failed. I was like, if I had a voice like that, I could conquer the world. And the audience was like crickets.
They're like, we don't get it.
Yeah. All right, everybody, welcome to CC&C. I'm Kalian Babcock.
I'm CC Hido. Hey.
And glad to have you. So recently, there was a little dinner in Washington, D.C.
A little one, yeah.
Called the Correspondent Center. And there was a
they had
fabulous
monkfish.
Comedian. They had what now?
They had monkfish.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Well, that's unusual, isn't it?
Well, you know.
Well, these rich people in their Would you recommend monkfish as a thing?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I've never had it. I'll have to try that.
It's delicious.
It has a horrible name.
Yeah, and I can't remember what the name was before that, but it was worse than that.
I don't know if it's the right one. I remember as a kid in the Bahamas, and I was learning all the different fish that I might see.
Yeah.
One of them was called a Jewfish.
Oh, I know the Jewfish. There are a lot of them in Florida, too.
Yeah, it's that same area of the world. Yeah. So the thing is, it's essentially a 600-pound grouper.
Yeah.
Which is, if you don't know what a grouper is, it's a sea bass. But I was just like going, what would you do with this thing? So as I was saying, there was this fabulous comedian there, Michelle Wolf. And I am not a fan of roast humor. I find it makes it cringe, and I think it's unnecessary, and I can understand why, logically, I can understand why people might think it's culturally important. Punching upwards. It's the ultimate punching upwards, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically. Or mocking of your peers in a friendly way.
Right.
But from my point of view, it's essentially kind of, I don't know. I
think it's mean.
It's mean. But
I think it's mean.
But that's a taste thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Michelle Wolf,
agreed,
in my opinion, was hired to do a job. Her clips are available on YouTube. I knew who she was before the dinner.
Right.
And I watched the clip, her monologue. She was brilliant. She was spot on. Mm-hmm. Nothing she said was factually false. It was very biting.
Yeah. But
being roast humor aside, she didn't say anything that I considered to be, I mean, she wasn't, like people say, oh, she mocked Sarah Huckabee Sanders' appearance. No, she didn't.
No.
Oh my God. She said she got the perfect smoky eye, which is a compliment to her makeup.
Right.
Otherwise, no. Oh, she looked like this so-and-so, I think it was Aunt Lydia, I want to say, from The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
But that was an implication about her character.
Right.
As in a woman willing to betray other women, not her appearance.
Right. Exactly.
And then saying she's a softball coach, which she is. So that's
what's wrong with her?
What do you think?
She was spot on. Now, I didn't watch it, but I read the transcript. I'm just tired of. I've seen it. All it is, and now the bullies are upset, and now they want to be the victims.
That's the thing. This is exactly.
Who
set the tone? Who set the tone?
Right.
The president of the United States, and now here's these rich elites, the ones that the people who voted for Trump supposedly hate anyway,
right?
Being mocked, openly mocked, and that's it. I mean, they could literally have thrown her in handcuffs and dragged her off the stage for disturbing the peace, because that's the world we live in now. And they're like so indignant, and then they, drove home in their $100,000 cars and went to their $1 million mansions, and we're all indignant, like, "Oh, did you hear what one of the people called us? The unwashed masses."
Right.
Let's pause here. Yep.
Got a delivery.
Mark.
So that is the speaker that has been repaired.
Well, sometimes the hair's open. How long does it last?
Well, that one lasted 6 months.
Oof. And that wasn't under warranty?
It was.
Oh, thank God.
The other one wasn't.
For 6 months, it better be.
Yeah, the other one I'm going to have, I'm going to give to somebody else to see if they can fix it. If they can't fix it, then they can throw it away. They don't care. Or they can cannibalize it for parts.
I hear you. Yeah. We can talk about that later. I got Ederols for E.T. Mayen at Hard Off. Mm-hmm. They were fine speakers, and they're big enough for this room because I use them in my office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So talk to Jet. He can hook you up.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this.
Okay.
So anyway, let's keep a track of the time.
Yes.
So when it's around 30 to 40, let's try to wrap it up.
Okay.
And then we'll move on to the next one.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And so anyway, So yeah, the president of the United States sets the tone, and suddenly they're all indignant and offended, and these rich people are going, "Oh, one of the people, mocked us. How
could they say that?
With this,
well, easy.
Bill.
It's stuff you've done and stuff you haven't done."
Yeah, she actually, by the way, she wraps it up with Flint, Michigan still doesn't have drinkable water. There's like 3,000 cities in the United States that have now been determined to have high dangerous levels of heavy metals, lead, and other things in their water. And nothing's being done about it. The deficit created by the huge tax cut for rich people that just happened could pay for replacing all the lead pipes in America 10 times over.
Yeah.
So, when you do what you do, Donald Trump would be happy to be on their side and just lock them all up. That's kind of his thing, locking them up. So, I don't know.
Like I said, I've dealt with it. I've had people like these people with this type of makeup,
as in personality, not
right.
Smoky eye.
Yeah, not the smoky eyed, smoky eyed makeup. But and again, I saw a lot of it, and they pick on the people they think are weak. I'm sure Michelle Wolf was hired because she came across to them as, oh, well, it won't be so bad. She's a woman. I can tell you what people think.
Which is already sexist.
Right.
But because she's a woman?
100% sure.
How is that not sexist?
They saw her as non-threatening. I'm that's sure ironic. They did.
And what's funny is a lot of the people in that room consider themselves liberal. These are quote unquote the liberal media, and some of them
let the press have it.
Oh man, and because they're enabling. And I was hearing that today. Like the idea is that look at Trump with he recently his doctor. His personal doctor came out and said, remember that letter that came out when he's elected that said that he was in the tip-top shape, best health ever? Yeah, he dictated that to me. I told him what he wasn't allowed to say, and then I signed it. Now, first of all, what he wasn't allowed to say means he would have made it sound more amazing.
Yeah.
Second of all,
can't say that now.
If you read the letter or hear the letter or whatever, read it. It sounds like the letter you would write describing, say, Captain America. Oh, and by the way, he can lift Thor's hammer. Well, his hands are kind of small, but when he makes some effort, he can do it. But the thing that's really offensive is that he also sent his security guard over and his lawyer over to take his medical records from the doctor, which, first of all, kind of illegal because your information is your information, but those records belong to the doctor, and he can't just give them to you without filling out some paperwork because of the HIPAA compliance they have. You have to keep that information private. So but it bears the question: even if the information is all true, why is it being taken? So anyway, it's just. But I'm digressing. But the point is this is the other thing. It's funny because both sides will say, oh, the other side doesn't have a sense of humor. So, but I've talked to some conservative people who are there. It reminds me of the grade school bullies back in the day.
Exactly.
Who punched down and think mocking people is funny. And so we had the guy I talked about last time who was mocking one of the kids who was part of one of the survivors of the shooting in Parkland in Florida, right? And he was photoshopping him with his goofy backpack and saying haha, he's gay. It's what's the relevance? Why do I care?
Yeah, you know? Right.
So that happened, and then it's just like saying, "Oh, you don't have a sense of humor." And as you said, then turn around saying, "Oh, but don't make fun of me, because I'm a delicate snowflake, and that might trigger me." It's like, really? No.
You're not being fair. You're not being respectful.
Oh, respectful of what? I mean, the thing is,
well, first of all, it's a roast.
Huh?
First of all, it's a roast.
It's a roast. So you hired her to do a roast, so she did her job. It should feel a little hot under the collar. You should be uncomfortable. Secondly,
roast.
If you can say it's like being respectful is overlooking somebody else's, it's like overlooking the truth,
right,
and somebody else's hypocrisies is being respectful. If it's a family member, sure, maybe. Yeah. That's why Thanksgiving's ugly, right? But I mean, saying like if you know that a family member, I don't know, still snuck cigarettes out back, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'd let it go.
All right, whatever.
And I'm sure. I mean, to be honest, I'm sure Michelle Wolf would have too. But one of the things she covered is like saying, pointing out in her own very, acerbic way, like the remarkable number of conservatives who are anti-abortion and on Capitol Hill who are anti-abortion, and yet will have come up they've been paying for secret abortions for their mistresses. So pro-family values and pro-kids. Yeah, it's
but it's always been. I mean, well, not always in terms of since the dawn of time, I would imagine, but
do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like, well, no, see, I don't count. I exempt myself from my own dogma.
Yeah, it's like what I've said before too. When you're making laws, essentially to stop someone else from doing something that you don't like.
Right.
Like the whole like I want to be able to not sell cakes to gay people because I am exercising my sincerely held religious beliefs.
Yeah, right.
But nowhere in the Bible does God say anything about selling something to a quote unquote sinner. I mean, actually, I would be interested. So make a point that I'd be interested to hear that. But as far as I know, also as we've also said before, God specifically says in the Bible, he's the one that judges.
Yeah, says, right.
Do not judge lest you be judged.
How about, you're right.
That's his job. The whole purpose of hell eternal existing is to kind of like cover all those bases.
Right.
So
you don't need to do that.
Being a dick to somebody in this life, as it were. I'm just kind of going along with the narrative.
Doesn't, I mean, not selling them a cake.
But it's getting worse. It's getting to the point now they're saying gay people can't adopt kids, for example, which actually that's been a long-term thing. But now they're saying like people of a different religion can't adopt kids. Like an adoption agency is allowed to have a particular religious stance. Now that's horrific. Now imagine the uproar there would be. And people, this is like in Texas, and people are like, "Well, what good Christian values?"
Of course,
good Christian values. Yeah,
I don't want to hear about your good Christian values because you don't have good Christian values because they're not Christian values.
No, because Christ would be like, "What? Turn the other cheek."
Yeah,
look out for the poor, that kind of thing. None of that's being applied.
None of that, right?
Yeah, actually,
those people Jesus fed. You know why they were hungry? Because they were poor.
Yeah, right. But we have this weird notion that poor people deserve to be poor, that they got there through some moral failing. That's a uniquely American way of thinking, I think. Maybe not uniquely, but it is a hallmark of American thinking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I could argue that
so-and-so worked hard, and so-and-so did this, so-and-so pulled himself by his own bootstraps, assuming that, of course, he had bootstraps.
I was going to say, he has boots?
He's
so lucky. Yeah. But the thing is that... by the way, one of the things that Christ actually does say about marriage, he thinks nobody should get married.
Yeah.
He actually said, but if you're going to.
Yeah.
But he thought celibacy was a cool thing and that nobody should get married and you should be married to God. That's in the Bible. That's what he said. He says, but if you're going to have sex with each other, then at least you should get married. And that was basically,
right.
The main point of what he had to say about it. But anyway, he didn't say but you should totally be pissy about these other people.
Not at all.
I'm delegating authority, and you guys.
In fact, he was the one that said, "Why are y'all being so pissy about these people?"
Yeah.
To the conservatives of the time.
Yeah.
Anyway. You know all that stuff he was writing in the dirt when he was when the Pharisees were,
buy that man a pencil.
Right.
He said he's writing in the dirt. Yeah, big letters.
He's writing down the sins of all the Pharisees.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think we're going to shut up now.
Well, no, then they just murdered him because
then we had to
that's
murder
what you do,
him,
right? When you're pro-authoritarian. Anyway, but
Well,
so I think that it does kind of go to show that I want to give credit to people like Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
And who's the other guy? I also kind of like Tapper, Jake Tapper.
Yeah.
Apparently, neither of them goes to the correspondence dinner because they said they went one time and it was horrible, and they never want to go again. But they said it's kind of a bunch of glad handing.
Yeah.
You know, self-gratifying. It's like, and one of them said it was like a bad bar mitzvah. So anyway, I respect for them because, you know.
It's kind of like athletes and actors, you know, who give themselves awards.
Yeah.
You know, it's so this is kind of sort of their thing. And I mean, I would imagine some people like to hobnob and do all that other stuff. And
yeah.
I mean, you know.
I mean, there's arguably in the actors realm.
Yeah.
There's arguably you can't blame them for saying, okay, guys, let's see who's best.
Right.
But with the correspondence dinner, I mean, the thing is that the role of the media, the definition of the media has changed since that dinner started.
Yeah.
And that was, I want to say, around 1987 when basically they passed a bill saying it was no longer fair and balanced media was no longer a requirement. Got a friend?
Oh no, the little girl was looking at the shoe in the
okay.
in the thing. So
no worries.
Sorry.
No worries. So when they basically they pass a bill or I guess a law saying that it was no longer required to have fair and balanced media. And that's when that was like back in the days, you know, good night and good luck, that kind of thing. There were laws in America that said that every television station or network was required to dedicate a certain amount of time to the news, and that news should be unbiased. Right. And for the longest time, even growing up as a kid, you know, newspapers, for example, we were taught the newspapers are very proud of being unbiased, and we were taught how to write and analyze things in unbiased
Exactly.
way.
I remember those classes.
That law, right? So, but now we've got...
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sighing and... I mean, that's the whole idea of the freedom of the press. That's just the whole idea.
The purpose of the First Amendment is to be able to say whatever you want without kowtowing to government. Which reminds me, I was saying earlier, you know, we need to like kind of work on some of our definitions. We've got new labels now, and one of those would be socially correct versus politically correct. So people use the word politically correct a lot. It's attributed a lot to the left as a way of restricting, for example, conservatives from saying mean things to other people.
Right.
I would argue that this is actually social correctness, a desire to comply to social norms and to be decent to each other, not political correctness. And this is an important distinction because political correctness was invented by the Nazis and other right-wing extremists to say, this is what you're allowed to say, or you face retribution from the government. The Japanese, we live here in Japan, they literally had a branch of the police during World War II and before World War II, I think, called the thought police. They literally would call the thought police. And so don't waste that bullet by allowing PC to be mislabeled.
Yeah.
I mean, we're whitewashing. We whitewashed the EPA website, which is now the Environmental Pollution Agency. We've gone back to like the 70s as far as we've rolled back regulations to the point where rivers are going to start catching on fire again.
Yep. Why is that river on fire? Because it's not water anymore. Right?
Yeah, right. I think the Justice Department, I know the Justice Department has changed their site. I believe that they rolled back things saying that basically that they were concerned about civil rights. So that's cool. You know, fairness and justice for all.
And everybody thinks, and all of these Trumpers, they think that, you know what you are. I mean, I know what you all think, that you're going to be included.
Yes. And that's the key. It's inclusion versus exclusion.
You keep thinking, right. And you think that because of your makeup, whatever you may think that is, and I mean, you know, see, I know how to talk sly, too. Like when y'all say intelligent design. Like, yeah, okay.
Well, which is very Orwellian. No, I'll be fair. No, that is not. There is Orwellian stuff that's coming out now. No, they're saying that God is intelligent and he designed things.
Yeah, so I know what that is. Right. Well, come on, everybody.
It's not science, guys. Let's be fair.
It's still a pig with lipstick.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's not a woman.
But yeah, people think that they're in Trump's club. It's what we also talked about, where like conservatives will, like the average everyday guy, will vote in favor of conservative politicians because who are super rich, for example, and saying, "Oh, rich people should run government because why would you want a poor person running government?"
Because they'll steal.
Because they're poor people and they'll steal. It's like, dude, you're poor. This is the thing, when you point out things like, you realize that those guys in Washington think you're poor. No, I'm not poor. I'm not greedy. It's like, no, dude, they think you're poor. That's it. That's the beginning and end of it. They actually have come out and said, if you're making less than $750,000 a year, you're poor. So don't vote against your own self-interest. I mean, they are not in your, you think you're in their club. They don't think you're in their club.
Not at all. They'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, just because somebody says good morning doesn't mean they want you to have a good one.
That's a good point. Well said.
You know, right. Good morning. You don't care.
Yeah. Right. But is it though? Is it,
you know?
Yeah. So anyway, I heard this recently, and I'm a big fan of Mark Twain. And apparently he said it's easier to fool a person than to convince them that they're being fooled.
Yeah. Agreed. He's 100% correct.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the thing. That's where we're at. But like I was mentioning to you before we started the show that there's a progressive who's actually been smart enough. I want to say his name is Ronan, which is actually kind of interesting, or Rogan. I'm going to have to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. Here, Mark. Show note. He has decided that he's going to run as a Republican. Now, I have said that there's a possibility, if you look at what quote-unquote progressive values are, it's looking to the future, trying to get liberty for all, trying to make a level playing field and give everybody opportunities, and to not misspend our tax dollars. These are things that self-described Republicans can totally get in line with, because that used to be their platform too. Now, is he liberal? Yeah. Why is he running as a Republican? Well, he's a liberal and a progressive. He's running as a Republican because the Democratic Party of his area told him, we're totally going to torpedo your campaign.
Right.
If you run against our anointed candidate, that is the big black spot on the Democratic Party. Yeah. For a long time, they've always kind of gravitated to this direction. For some reason, we want to have our guy that we pick. Republicans, I'm going to give them credit. They primary the crap out of each other.
Yeah,
which is interesting, and I realized as I thought about this, primarying is a really good way for the average person to shift the platform in a certain direction, and that's how we got to the Tea Party Republicans, for example. That's how the Dixiecrats became Republicans, back in the 70s. So, or maybe was it the 70s? Was it earlier than that? The Dixiecrats. When did they officially? The Southern Strategy. When did that happen? That was 60s, 70s. This is Nixon.
Nixon. So that's the 70s.
Okay. So there you go. But, shifting your platform in a certain direction.
Because after Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah. Yes. So notice the amazing amount of research in front of us. This is just a clock, I swear. Anyway, but the point is that I realize primaries are a really good way to shift people in the direction that their base wants to go. So one of the reasons why the Democrats right now are so bad and the Republicans are so extreme, is that I think it's partly based on that difference.
No, I think the Democrats have, in their way, subverted the whole idea, because what it is a lot of this. Okay, well, this is our candidate, right? And this is somebody who, and then you'll hear this laundry list of things that, they've been serving us for a long time, and they've done this, and they've done their time, and now it's their time, which is why we ended up with Hillary Clinton. Well, she served her time. She deserves this chance.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And she was the chosen one. And she was the chosen one, and they were right about a lot of it, except that group of young Democrats was like, but she's not. She's. I mean, especially the millennials were like, she's not helping us.
She doesn't represent me, which is the whole point in a democracy, right?
Right. I mean, there are older candidates that young people can identify with, but Hillary was a lifelong politician. And so where her advantages lay, she was like, well, okay, fine. I know how to talk to these people. I know what to do about North Korea. I know how to lean on my advisors and do all this other stuff. And then the issue also is they also know that she knows how to cover her own ass. Whereas Donald Trump obviously does not know.
Funny, the one thing he complained about, or one of the many things he complained about with Hillary,
because both of them were crazy.
He's saying she'd be embroiled in scandal if she became president. How many lawyers does Donald Trump have? He has his porn star lawyer.
Yeah.
He has his Russia investigation lawyer. He now has an impeachment lawyer.
Who's quitting?
No.
Who's quitting?
Ty Cobb is out. And this new guy's in. And he's actually, the funny part, his name is Flood. He represented Clinton.
Right.
During his impeachment. That's not ironic at all. Well, keep it in the family. For those of you who aren't aware that Trumps and the Clintons are actually friends. So, you're fishing from the same barrel. I mean, come on, guys. The guy was a Democrat for years.
Yeah.
If you want to be tribal, look at that. He's not an ideologue at all. He doesn't care. He's in it for him. That's all there is.
That's all there is to it. He is not in it for you.
Yeah. So anyway,
you can say what you want.
Yeah. But what was I trying to say? He had with all the different lawyers, and then he finally, he can't stop having all his ghosts come out and all his skeletons in his closet. I mean, and this is the other thing when you talk about politicians and who you support based on your party. This is the thing. One of the reasons why I always say the reason why I don't like Trump is not because of his politics. I don't like the man, and the reason I don't like the man is my 40 plus years of experience of the man.
Yeah.
He has been in the public eye since before I was born. There's nothing secret about him. He's a horrible person.
He's not a good person.
And karma, like if there's such a thing as karma, this is a man who's currently his hardcore base is like going, he needs a Nobel Peace Prize. Jiminy Christmas. There's no justice.
He wants it for what?
For pointing a gun. Apparently if you point a gun at North Korea's head and most of East Asia, you deserve to be lauded for your peace. Like I said, Trump doesn't unite people so much as drive them together. Yeah. So it's like when you're being ground between two rocks, you're like going, shit, we got to figure out something to do.
Anybody can do that. I mean,
yeah.
One of the few difficulties of true leadership is to make decisions for the long-term good of the body you represent. And in some cases, that means, even Clinton at some point said, we have a terrible deficit. Everybody has to pitch in. Taxes are going to go up for everybody. Then we ended up with a surplus.
Right.
And, people were uncomfortable, but not starving. And then we ended up with a surplus, which of course W went and kicked
the funny thing is,
kicked into the ocean or whatever he did with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why he was standing on the aircraft carrier and it said, victory. That was him dumping all that money. I wanted to say, the thing is that we always have the Democrats getting blamed for raising taxes.
Yeah.
But it's only because they're trying to bring things back into line from having been screwed up by the previous administration of Republicans.
Right. What do you not see about that? Okay, now we're $5 trillion in debt, and now you're mad because Obama or Clinton or Jimmy Carter has to raise taxes so that we don't really fall in a hole.
Yeah, there is
they're so terrible for saving your ass. So terrible.
Somebody had a good point about even when you look at the polls that say people think that free education and free healthcare is something they totally would love. He says, that might be kind of a false positive because when you say, but I'll have to raise your taxes to do it, they might be like, oh, I'm out. Because nobody really wants to pay taxes. But again, if you were somebody like, say, Bernie Sanders, who's smart enough to say, it's not about the money you spend on taxes. It's about the money that you get that is left in your pocket as a result.
Right.
You will have more liquid income because you're not living in fear of paying for your kid's college,
Right.
or the possibility that somebody's going to break a leg or break an arm and
Right.
go bankrupt. Oh my God. Whereas those things are just taken care of. I mean, we talk about like a universal basic income, for example. They're talking about guaranteed federal jobs, which I think is very interesting because first of all, I think it's a very pro-American way of thinking, very sympathetic to the American values of, well, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the way the conservatives like to say. So we're going to do a universal basic income to guarantee everybody has a job, but it also means they're going to guarantee a minimum wage.
Right.
Which means that private sector is going to have a fit because the government's going to say $15.
That's what it costs.
That's what it costs. And so people are going to be competing with the government, which is going to drive them crazy.
Well, I mean, but that's the deal. And I mean, I'm sorry. Then when the people have more money, and unfortunately conservatives are always in, which I find funny because you define yourself as a skeptic, right? But their skepticism is rooted in, I really think that they're telling you what they would do if they didn't have any money. When they say, I'm worried.
The projection problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's what that is. You're like, hold on a minute. I mean, I remember people asking me questions at one point, whether it was, the police about something, when I get stopped or traffic or just at one point, somebody kept asking me, I used to get to all my jobs when I was a teacher. I used to get there pretty early. And one school I worked at, they gave me the keys, so I would go and just get there. And one day they were just in the office and they just kept asking me the same question over and over and over. Why do you come to work so early? Well, I like to get up and get into work. And but we don't understand. I said, well,
why do you not understand?
I couldn't figure out where they were going.
Questioning? Yeah.
I kept saying, well, I don't understand what is the problem? And then they wouldn't tell me what they thought the problem was. And honestly, I still don't know.
It sounds a little bit. I started
because I'm trying to figure out what
was it racist?
What kind of illicit thing could I possibly be doing at 6:30 a.m. in a high school? Like what?
Are you reading the textbooks? Are you planning lessons? Are you grading papers? What is wrong with you?
Right. So I'm like, well, what is this? So if somehow. And that's not the strongest example, but I think that people who always question, well, if people get a universal income, then some people won't do anything. Correct. Yeah. That is true.
Yeah, but you also will reduce crime. You get people off the streets.
Right.
You reduce drug use. Potentially.
Right.
Potentially.
It's certainly drug abuse.
Yeah. I mean, but keep in mind that drug abuse. Yeah. That's another reason why legalizing drugs is awesome. They actually, for example, were saying that if we were to legalize marijuana across the board.
Right.
Was it only in California or was it the whole country? It's apparently $1.8 trillion in tax revenue.
Right.
Holy crap. That hole is blew in the budget. Gone overnight.
Gone.
Dang.
But people, again, they're like, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think this should be this way.
We could fund the government.
We
can fund the government on all our vices.
Yeah, I know, right?
I said, keep going. Sorry about that.
No, but people, they make me crazy with this. I'm just like, hey, of course that's the case. But again, like we talked about on the show before, and what we've talked about during production, or even just when we're just, shooting the breeze. What are conservatives doing with their money now? Just keeping it.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're
taxes?
lazy about paying taxes. Now that's just a straight up thing. But even just using your money, it's sitting around not doing anything. And certainly anyone who you can say, well, why don't you just get a job? Well, because you're not spending the money.
You're subtracting it from the economy.
Right.
Matter of fact,
now it's just gone.
I want my business to be more successful. Well, your employees are also your customers.
Right.
Depending on your business, but potentially, look at it that way. It's an abstraction, but the point is valid. That's why it always kills me when I see the same thing happening in Japan, too. And it's a trend. Some people like to say it's physics. People just tend to go there. I was like, no. These are legislated laws. It might be collective insanity, which is psychological, but it's not physics like money tends to congregate in certain places. That's why we can create systems to redistribute it. And let's look at the estate tax. People like conservatives like to call it the death tax. It's not the death tax. You've already paid money on that. It is a gift to your children who have not paid taxes on it. So they're getting an immense gift. And here's the thing. Until recently, the first $10 million was free. Knock yourselves out. $10 million. $10 million. You, your children, and your grandchildren could live your entire lives on a modest, not like comfortable income and never have to work a day in their lives. Period. You can't spend $10 million fast enough. You literally can't. I mean, you can squander it, but you can't spend it.
Give it away. Right. Yeah, but there's only so much you can spend. Right?
Yeah. I mean, you can be an idiot and buy a $10 million mansion and the money's gone. Sure. Yeah. It's a nice house. Hey, I don't blame you. But the rest of the money, you still have it. It's only been taxed. It hasn't been taken away.
I mean, if you went on a game show or the lottery, they're there right there. They're just, okay, well, this is what you've won and this is how much you get.
Apparently in Canada, they don't tax lottery winnings.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, if you think about it, it depends on how the lottery is funded. But a lot of times, lotteries are funded either through the ticket sales, where you pay a sales tax.
Where you pay. Right. Yeah.
So that money has arguably already been taxed. Now, if I sound like I'm making a logical fallacy here because I just argued that the estate tax is fair, the thing is that the person who bought the lottery ticket paid taxes. Then they're given that prize and they're paying taxes again. Yeah. So it is the same person. Now you can say, well, the mass of that money was other people's money. And it's also, but maybe again, it's an interesting problem. I do see there might be a logical fallacy there, but straight up giving person A's money to person B, not a collective amount of money, I think is a different ball of wax. So but apparently Canada agrees with me. So it's worth looking into.
You put it in the pot and then you see what happens.
Yeah, you put it in the pot, exactly.
That's exactly.
Everybody who put it into the pot, that's why they call it a game. Taxes on it. Right.
Yeah. So. I mean, you don't do that. You don't go, okay, we all play poker and I came here with $35, so I want to leave with $35. No. Don't go play poker.
Don't go play poker. I will say this also. You see, this is the other thing about. I've noticed that there is a trend where legislators like to pass laws that punish lotteries specifically in the United States. In the recent tax bill, they wanted to pass a law that would make it harder for people who won the lottery, and in terms of how they had to pay taxes. So. The trend I see there is that the common thread would be old school rich hating the nouveau rich.
Yep, agreed.
I think that's the common thread. So the estate tax is old school rich being punished, whereas lottery is nouveau rich being punished, which they're totally cool with. Because again, they don't want the competition.
Right.
They do not want the worthless, unwashed masses stepping up to their level. So there you go.
Crazy.
So I think that's the logic behind it. Now, is it a logical fallacy to say one is okay, not the other? Possibly.
Yeah.
But the motivation should be questioned as well.
Right.
So we're going to wrap it up there. This is segment 1. Again, you'll be able to see we're going to continue this conversation and get to see it next week. We hope you join us then.
Yep. I'm going to go check on my stock.
He's going to check on his stock. With in his spare time, he likes to run a restaurant. Thanks for joining us here at CCNC, and we'll see you next time.
All right. You got it. See ya.